And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how goes it this week?
It goes well, Rich. Even though it is Friday, we normally record our show on Thursdays. So happy Friday, everybody. And Rich, why don't you let everybody know why we're recording on Friday and how your week's been?
Yeah, and so this is 100% on me, by the way. So and we're going to talk about this in just a minute. I spent most of this week at the Enable Empower Partner Conference in Las Vegas, and because I am an idiot most of the time, I didn't discover until, I don't know, 48 hours ago that we were scheduled to record this show when I was going to be on a plane flying home to Seattle from Las Vegas. The Wi-Fi is not good enough on airplanes to actually pull off this recording session. So yeah, we had to move it to Friday, which means you may be getting this episode a little bit later than usual. Sorry about that. You know who to blame.
Don't beat yourself up too much, Rich. Hey, everybody has to make adjustments, and it's all good. We got the episode in. Let's rock and roll.
All right, well, let's talk about Enable. They were talking about all sorts of things there. A lot of it had to do with cloud computing. And in fact, the theme of the show was Own the Cloud. The big piece of product news concerned a product that isn't actually out on the market yet, but will be coming early next year. And it's a cloud management solution that they're calling Cloud Asset Manager. And so this will be a monitoring and management tool specifically for Microsoft Azure and virtual instances within Azure. So you'll be able to aggregate information across tenants for all the different Azure instances you're responsible for, monitor, manage those. There's some cost optimization functionality in there. They have a feature that helps you identify and eliminate what they call orphaned resources, which are those instances that you bought once upon a time or a customer bought not using anymore, but they're still paying for it. You can find those and get rid of those. This is actually the second cloud management tool from Enable. In August, they introduced a system called Cloud User Hub, which is focused on Microsoft 365. All of that follows an acquisition. They purchased a vendor called SpinPanel back in July. In a conversation with their CEO, John Pagliuca, I learned that there will be a cloud security solution coming to the stack over there at some point next year. We don't know exactly when. So a lot of the news coming out of Enable this year, going into next year, is very much cloud related. But when you ask the executives, John Pagliuca and others, does all of this activity around cloud, does the Own the Cloud theme mean that the future of managed services is in the cloud, and that's where your MSPs are going, that's where you're taking Enable? They say no. Their take on the market and how cloud has changed the market is that, yes, absolutely, cloud looms increasingly large in terms of what SMBs are doing and what they care about. But that doesn't mean the stuff MSPs were responsible before, the workstations and the servers and the networks, all that stuff is still there. They still have to take care of that. They just have to take care of the cloud too. And so that the mantra, the kind of motto that kept coming up in interviews at this Enable show was manage everything, secure everything, including the cloud, but not just the cloud. And it's a little interesting, Eric, because when you speak with these born in the cloud startup cloud management vendors like Nerdio and Augment and Jump Cloud and Skykick, their posture really is it's all about the cloud, and the devices are so commoditized that the networks are so kind of irrelevant that it's not like you can ignore them, because they are important from a security perspective, but you really need to be focusing your attention on the cloud. And when you talk to Enable, and this is very much the message I got back in June from Kaseya, it's more of this, no, it's cloud too, not cloud first. Different takes, and some of that has to do with the fact that the Kaseyas and Enables and ConnectWises have big legacy businesses in RMM. But it is interesting just sort of to see those two philosophical takes on the market now. We are kind of finally seeing the big brand name legacy RMM vendors get very serious about cloud management, but they're not walking away from the business that made them famous to begin with.
Yeah, you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful not to upset, the business that we currently have. And I'm still waiting, Rich, for, the killer hybrid, like all in one universal translator of RMM that will help manage on-prem devices as well as cloud devices. Like, I think that's where we're going next. We're seeing this evolution, and maybe there's somebody out there that does it, in a way that I may not be tracking. But what we MSPs want, me a recovering MSP, so caveat there. What we want is that true, single pane of glass. Sorry for the analogy, folks. It's so tired. The single pane of glass view that allows me to look at all of my assets, no matter where they are. Are they on-prem? Are they in multiple locations in my client's organization, as well as all of the cloud assets, and be able to manage and report and patch and update, that way, instead of, jumping in and out of different applications or platforms to try to manage a more cohesive way to manage all of these assets and secure them, right? And then run a security and a health analysis across the entire domain, inclusive of on-prem, hybrid, and cloud assets. Man, what a dream that would be for an MSP. If it's out there, let us know, because I'm very interested. I think that we are moving more and more toward cloud, but I don't think that there's ever going to be a point in time, Rich, where we get rid of devices. I mean, how do we access those platforms? I think the majority of the assets and the platforms will migrate to the cloud, but we still need a way to connect to those platforms. I mean, even with VDI and entire virtual environments, we still need some device to connect and to collaborate with those services and those platforms. And that's the sticky point, right? Those devices still need to be managed, and they still need to be secured, and they still need to be updated. And, we're always going to have that component. But I think over time, I see more and more of the workload, let's call it workload, move into the cloud rather than be on-prem.
So I'll quickly say before we move on, what you described, that sort of single pane of glass vision, is very much what Enable and Kaseya are trying to build. So Enable now has Cloud User Hub. It will soon have Cloud Asset Manager as well. They refer to those, talk about those as separate products, but they are actually embedded within Insight and Central, which are the two RMM systems from Enable. So they won't be different panes of glass. They'll be like tabs on the RMM interface. And then back in June, at Kaseya's Connect IT show, they previewed the next release of VSA, which is one of their two RMM systems. And they said it will have support not only for what they call traditional endpoints, servers and workstations, but network devices, agentless IoT devices, and cloud workloads. So both those companies, at least, and it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of ConnectWise in November, but at least those two companies are very much focused on that vision that you just described. Now, included in that vision, Eric, was security, and that goes straight to your tip of the week.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. So, this is an evolving story as I continue sharing some insights from me working with partners in helping optimize their business operations and performance and things like that. And one of the very first things that I do with a partner is we look at their solution stack, and we look at what it is that they are delivering to their clients today, and then what should they be delivering, like according to surveys and analysis and just my experience working with other partners. What is it that they're, what I like to call the post-pandemic customer, what is it that they are investing in? And we've talked about this on this show before, Rich. We know that it's heavily based around cloud migration, cybersecurity, and hybrid workforce support, things like that, right? Along with some of the other traditional infrastructure management and all that. But the shifting perspective of the post-pandemic buyer is accelerating, right? As a result of being through lockdown and having to accelerate their momentum towards moving more into the cloud and strengthening security to support these hybrid workforces. And as I'm going through these pricing and bundling exercises, what partners typically have is they'll have, their set of strategic vendor partners that their go-to partners that they're using their services and solutions for some of the stack, and then the delta between what they're using and what they need to add. We'll work together to find other vendors that will fit the bill and then build that solution bundle, and then we'll do a good, better, best, and then we'll identify costs, and then we'll add margin and price it. And historically, I've seen, and we reported on this as well, Rich, how many strategic vendor partners that partners have in those stacks. And it may be 15, it may be 20 vendors, right? All in, maybe more. Like I know MSPs that have ad hoc services and project things that they do, and they've got other vendors that do that, or compliance and this and that. And so this list of vendors and costs and management overhead just continues to grow and grow and grow. And we've talked about the increasing cost of the MSP to keep up with it on the show as well, Rich. Well, I was working with a new partner that started about a month ago, and they are heavily experienced and competent in all things Microsoft. And they opened my eyes, Rich, to what Microsoft is doing to address a lot of these services, cloud management services, as well as cybersecurity services to address the needs of clients, even going so far as to include compliance management, DNS filtering, things that I wasn't really aware of, endpoint device management, cloud management, end user security awareness training, and the list goes on. And as I started to look at what they're putting in place to address all of these cybersecurity and cloud management needs for their stack that we're working on together, there's only a small handful of additional partners that they're using to complete that stack. And a lot of these services come inclusive of an M365 license or a Defender license, Intune, or I'm trying to remember now. There's some additional security specific licenses that you can add to an M365 license, like an E3 security license, an E5 security license. So you can mix and match these licenses, which are low cost subscription add-ons to an M365 license, and build out this stack and reduce significantly, in many cases, the cost to a lot of other vendors by centralizing on what Microsoft is doing here. And so it's almost like I had not seen it or been aware of it before, but it really kind of opened my eyes. So I encourage channel pros to check out like Defender for M365 or Defender by Microsoft, and go to security.microsoft.com and look in there. There's some trials that you can even light up to test these things before you begin promoting them to your clients. So just another option and confirmation, right? That we are moving toward consolidation, and even Microsoft is looking at this and saying, oh wow, we can deliver all of these things as well. And if you're already in our ecosystem, your clients are already paying for these licenses, and you're already managing this stuff, just lighting up additional features and continuing to manage them in that, environment makes it a lot easier for MSPs and makes it more profitable and allows them to really be more competitive in their retail pricing, because they can still maintain super healthy margins, but still reduce their costs so they can be more competitive in their retail pricing.
Yeah, this is actually a really timely topic for me, because a week ago, I think to the day as we're recording this, I reported a story out of Blackpoint Cyber, which is a managed detection and response vendor, and they just recently added Defender to their service, support for Defender. And the reason why their CEO told me is because MSPs are asking them to do that. And the reason why MSPs are increasingly interested in Defender is that back in the spring, Microsoft introduced something, I believe I'm getting the name right, Defender for Business, which is an SMB-focused version of Defender. It is now included in the Business Premium edition of Microsoft 365, which means there are a ton of SMBs out there already paying for it. They're just getting it now with the subscription that they already have. And so there's beginning to be a bit of a groundswell within the MSP community looking to take advantage of that more, for the reasons in terms of their own business you just cited, but also because it benefits their customers. The other thing I'll say is that not only is the Microsoft security stack very, affordably priced to the extent it's rolled into these subscriptions, and helpful for MSPs in consolidating their vendor relationships. That stuff's actually very good. And I mean that the eye-opening conversation about this for me happened, I'm going to say 2 years ago. I was talking with Jay Farron, who is one of the smartest, most experienced security experts I know, somebody I respect a great deal. And he's not somebody who's afraid to say this or that vendor isn't getting the job done, right? Like he's not going to just, butter somebody up or make them out to be better than they are. And I was talking with him a couple of years ago, and he said, Rich, the Microsoft security products are increasingly as good, if not better than what you can get from some of these big name security only vendors out there. So yeah, absolutely, people should be checking this out because Microsoft is increasingly making very, very good security software that is going to be healthy for your bottom line and is going to help your customers out financially and from a security perspective too.
Yeah, in fact, the partner that I was working with said that Defender is like in the top, quartile of some of the security, assessments and experts that are placing and ranking these different services and solutions. So what really surprised me was that their expansion into things that you wouldn't think that Microsoft would be interested in or offering. The end user security awareness training for one, compliance management, right, for regulated companies. I saw in the portal as well, and in the research that I was doing preparing for the tip of the week this week, I went in and I said, oh yes, we do have in my company's licensing, there was Defender, but like you said, Rich, you have to go in there and you have to actually activate some of these things. Like I had to go in there and create a new security profile for everybody in the company and then enable some of the features that by default are not enabled, right? So just because you have it, Microsoft will, they may default to some base profile, but you can actually supercharge that, right? And add even more security, strengthen the security just by, turning a couple of other additional things on. So yeah, I'm very surprised to see that. And it seems like they're continuing to grow that. And especially now in the days when partners are selling more VDI, Microsoft VDI and workstations and things like that. And of course, Azure environments with virtual servers and all that. It just, they are really, really evolving at a surprising pace. And as you said, Rich, getting really good at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does feel like a pretty big deal that hasn't really gotten big deal attention. So yeah, just a very interesting topic and something for the folks in our audience to investigate. And it leaves us time, folks, for just one more story. And comes to us from the world of fishing, because, it's not unusual, Eric, for people who go out and fish to exaggerate a little bit on the size of their catch and so on. But if you are fishing competitively, that actually can be a problem. As two guys learned recently, they were competitors in the Lake Erie Walleye Trail. Who knew that there is a walleye fishing circuit out there? But there is, at least in the Lake Erie area. These two guys were part of it. The championship round every year happens in Cleveland. And at the end of it, these guys submitted their catch. It was 5 fish, 5 walleye, weighing a total of about over 33 pounds. 5 fish over 33 pounds. That's quite a bit for walleye. And it was a red flag for the tournament director. He went ahead and cut the fish open and discovered that Not only had these two guys shoved some smaller walleye, like walleye fillets, inside those 5 fish to make them weigh more, they had shoved some lead weights in there too, just for good measure. Needless to say, none of this is permitted by the rules. They have both been disqualified. Curses foiled again, Eric.
Rats. I can just see now the the scanning system that we're going to be implementing at all the fishing tournaments now. Okay, let's put the fish through the metal detector. Let's do the X-ray. Make sure there's nothing inside the fish. I mean, come on, guys. Like you say, we all have told tall tales about the fish we catch, but these guys are actually trying to make money out of it and disenfranchising other competitors that fished according to the rules that should have been the recipients of whatever prize money there is out there. So shame on you guys.
It just sounded like a brilliant plan, and who would have thought it would be torn apart this way? But better luck next time, or not, guys. Folks, that is all the time we have this week for you on the 5-Minute Roundup. You know what? We are both a video and a podcast these days, which means if you are watching us on video, but you like podcasts, go to wherever you get your podcast, whether that is Spotify or Stitcher or Google or Apple. You're going to find us there. You can subscribe. You can also rate and review. We would appreciate it if you do. It'll help other folks like yourself find the program. If you are listening to us on a podcast right now on audio, you can also watch us on video. Easiest way to do that is go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube. There again, you can subscribe, rate, review. If you click the little bell icon, you'll get notified when the new episodes become available. There is a lot. I've been writing all week about Enable and the Enable Empower Conference. If you want to read more about what happened at that show, and also just see what's happening in the industry, get great business growth advice for your company, please visit channelpronetwork.com every day. We have got amazing new content for you there every day. If you want to learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, please visit ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, we thank you for joining us. Please enjoy the rest of your week. We are enjoying the rest of your week already.